I've been in Donald Carey's DM for a minute now, so we're fortunate to have him on. And then Ricky, Mr. Goings, I've been talking to him for a while to get him on the show, to celebrate him and all his efforts. So we want to welcome Donald Carey Jr. and Ricky Goings. And I emphasize the junior because my esteemed co-host, Markham Stansbury, is a junior as well, and he don't play with his junior. He wanted capitalized. 100%. He wanted enunciated properly. But real talk, I want to thank both of you guys for coming through. I'm gonna give Markham an opportunity to say a couple of words, and we're gonna jump right in.
Just happy to have you guys on, and I don't know. I feel like I'm looking at my screen. The old Sesame Street thing. One of these guys does not belong here. You got two captains on. Captain Gatorade Maker, but I was not a captain, so we're happy to have you here, man.
Yeah, but you were 3-time manager of the year, so that you was captain of the managers. So you was definitely a captain.
But let's get right into it, man. First question we always ask our guests, Don, how did you end up at Georgetown?
Ooh. You took a different route.
I mean, if you want me to tell you my whole collegiate path? Does that make more sense? All right. So, well, first off, I'm from Upper Marlboro, Maryland. Went to Frederick Douglass High School. Played for Coach Massenberg. Out of Frederick Douglass, I really wasn't getting recruited very heavily. I actually was supposed to go to JMU. Something happened, so I was going to go to do a prep year at Massanutten. So I played my senior season, AAU in the live period, and I guess I played well in New York for one of the tournaments, and Coach Jamie Christian, he was really on me, wanted me to come play for him instantly right away up at Mount St. Mary's in Maryland, Emmitsburg, Maryland. So I did my first year there. After my first year, Coach Christian actually left, and I followed him to Siena College, which is in Albany, New York. I sat out my transfer year, which so I redshirted. Then I played the following year. We actually ended up winning the championship there. So that's 2020 season, COVID year. After the COVID year, I graduated from Siena. So I made the decision to basically transfer, and boom, I ended up at Georgetown. It's crazy how it came about because Georgetown wasn't really on my radar. I wasn't really thinking about Georgetown when I came to the portal. It was more so Coach Crouch, he reached out to me, and then I kind of remember that he had that position there, like he was at Georgetown, because Crouch before Georgetown, he always trained me, high school, middle school, all of that. So we have that relationship's there. So once he kind of said that, it just kind of made sense, and I started kind of putting pieces together in my mind, and you know what I could get done at Georgetown, and boom, I just went with it. So that's kind of how I got to Georgetown. Rocky road, different story, different path, but that's how I got there.
So you graduated from Siena.
I graduated from Siena.
3 years.
Yeah.
That's impressive. So now I'm talking to a Georgetown lawyer. Were you in law school playing for the Hoyas? Like, what was going on?
Yeah.
So Ricky, I want to bring you in and introduce you. You've been a man on a mission for a while. The three organizations that you're a part of, Team Society Venture, you're co-founder, you started in 2014. We got the Everyone Deserves a Shot. You started in 2014 as well, finding scholarships for student athletes. What has motivated you to be all the things that you represent in DC as it relates to basketball? Because when I think of you as a protector of the DMV, right? You're that content. You're a historian. Not to mention the little shout out, the little cameo you did in the basketball documentary.
Oh yeah.
I pulled it up last night, and I listened to you on the podcast. And I listened to you talk, and I hadn't heard you go into your love for DC and your love for your passion for DC. But what led you to be this guy that you are and all the things that you represent? What was your role model? What was your path? And also I want to highlight the photo I saw of you yesterday with the Georgetown crew at the game. So yeah, so obviously you're connected to the Georgetown family as well. Your seats are better than mine when I go to the game. So give us. I gave you a lot, so give us the
No, man,
deal.
thanks for
Give us the
having me,
deal.
man. For me, it's all about trying to give kids opportunities. When I played, I felt like I never really had, besides my father, my parents, anybody that really believed in me as a player. So I felt, and kind of the things I saw on the political side was that if you can just provide kids an opportunity to be in the same platform as other kids, you're going to find out who really truly deserves the opportunity. So around 2013, there was a kid, and I always tell this story, a kid at Eleanor Roosevelt named Andre Fox, and his high school coach had told him he wasn't a Division I basketball player. So for me, I felt like my mission from then on was to get this kid a scholarship. From there, I started having these open gyms, and coaches would come, evaluators would come, and then kids started showing us. I see how I met Donald. His older brother, who played at Hofstra, started coming, and then Donald started coming with him when he was like in the 10th grade. So I felt like by creating this environment where it was just a lack of politics, and from the point of, this kid is ranked this way or this kid is that, just say who's better than those four lines. And we were able to get in the last 7 years, probably 60 kids scholarships between Division I and Division III. In terms of my role models, when it comes to basketball, my father, Ricky Goings, is Big Rick is always the one that brought me along and really had me respect the history of the game, taught me how to play, and just made me understand the importance of networking and the importance of timing and all those things. So that's, he's my role model when it comes to, the game of basketball. With Team Society, that was actually something that, before that, I had the 30 by 30 combine, which Donald played in. It was, we went from 40 kids to 100 kids the last year, so the concept was 30 kids, 30 college coaches, but it grew to 100 kids and like 50 college coaches. We had Jamarco Pickett there. We had Najee Marshall there, but this is before guys kind of knew, who they are, NBA players now. And it was all about just creating an environment where it was guys just playing basketball. Same concept. And that went on for 3 years. Then team had the Red Cup Hour I did with Kurt Smith and Charlie Moe for a couple of years, which was important. I think to me, it was one of the most important podcasts in DC from a basketball standpoint because of the stories people had, the freedom they spoke with. So that was huge. Then Team Society was something that myself, Steve Francis, and Jason Muscuri started. It started out as like a team I had created. Steve Francis actually came up with the name. When I was doing the Legend Coalition League, you came a couple times. That was a team we had for Steve and Jason, Lonnie Harrell, Greg Jones, Byron Mouton, Josh Morgan, those guys. And then Jason wanted to keep playing. So we made it a semi-pro team. And then I started doing the Team Society management stuff around the time the NIL came around. And so my connection to Georgetown, my mom, Dina, is a huge Georgetown fan. Like I was never really a Georgetown fan, but my mom was. So, but Kevin Brodus is a longtime friend with my dad. I'm great friends with Dwayne Bryan. I was with him last night. Mike Sweeten is a good friend of mine. So, I've always been around it. Mark Tillman is actually known my entire life. So, those guys. And then when me and Brodus formed a relationship, and so when Rodney was looking to transfer from Robert Morris, he was the first call I made. I said, hey, I got a kid that can be really good. At the time, ESPN was ranking transfers. So he was number 5 in the country. Also had the number 1 in the country, Corey Holden. So Brodus got him. Brodus is an amazing recruiter. The kid didn't even visit nowhere else. He canceled visits to Kansas, Florida, Gonzaga. So I was at every Georgetown game that year. And now I'm cool with Crouch. My cousin Akbar, he was there for years. So, I want to see all the local programs succeed. So I want a relationship with Maryland, Georgetown, George Mason. I talk to all the head coaches, when I can, just to see the DMV do well.
That's nice. You mentioned a couple of names there. I just want to pause. Give a shout out to Charlie Moe. I was a senior when he was a freshman. Oh man.
Who'd you say? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Charlie Moe.
Charlie. Oh man. Oh my God, that's my. Yeah. I'll never get past that one. But you know.
So Don, let me ask you, trust your process. What does that mean to you? You got to come off mute.
You're on mute. You're on mute.
My bad, my bad. It means a whole lot to me, honestly.
Well, let me just stop. Pause for 1 second. I slipped in his DM with that, just so we know. I slipped in his DM with trust your process. I slipped in there. I just want to know. Hoya locker room was like, yo, whatever you doing, just trust it. So that's why that question was thrown out to you.
Yeah, nah, that's one of the biggest lessons I kind of learned through my journey. I would say like comparison is the thief of like all joy. What Ricky touched on, like growing up in the DMV area, basketball is big. So like all the kids don't get the same fair shot. So some of the peers that you might be competing with, practice AAU, high school games, or what so be, you're not getting the same opportunity. It could be discouraging. It could be frustrating for you. But I mean, eventually I just really wanted to, be on that Division I level and show everybody like I could play with the same kids that y'all was putting me behind. You know what I mean? So once I started to just really focus on me, improve my game, and like don't even like look at what everybody else got. Like I'm gonna get there, just keep working, like see the improvement. And over time, I mean, the guys that were so-called right here, like you start to see that gap close. So I mean, that means everything to me. You know what I mean? That quote that you just said means everything, because without that, I mean, I don't think I will see any improvement or be where I am today.
So I want to go back to your journey to Georgetown a little bit, and I was going to try to say this for the end, but like we kind of flow here, so we all over the place. So what I wanted to ask you, Don, was, so you weren't recruited by Georgetown coming out of high school.
High school? No.
Because you weren't recruited by Georgetown, and then you followed your man to Siena,
Right.
and then he broke out and went to GW.
Came back to DC.
So when it was like, were you thinking about GW? Or when Georgetown came in, you didn't think about GW? Because it was like, that was your man, right? I mean,
you talking
Christian.
about something in the portal the second time.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, it's funny. I wasn't thinking about GW because I wanted to, Coach Christian, like he's a great coach, but I was like, I felt like I was a good player. Like I could go play anywhere and make an impact. You know what I mean? Like I love Coach Christian, but you know what I mean? Like I had to do what's best for me. And there's no shots on GW, but they just weren't on my mind. Like they weren't on my radar. Same way Georgetown wasn't in my mind or my radar. You know what I mean? But it's funny because me and Coach Christian, we keep tabs on each other. So like we talk time to time. When he found out I was in the portal, because it was last minute, I went in the portal in August. It's COVID year though, so there's no summer session. So it kind of worked out for me in terms of recruitment wise. So when he found out, he was kind of upset because he had his whole roster basically full, so he kind of recruited me or whatever. So that's how that went. But it is what it is.
I want to jump back to you, Ricky. All the things that you've done in DC through it's so impressive because we're basically talking about a decade span, and you've had your hands in so much. Why do you feel like, or do you feel like DC, the DMV, is overlooked from a brand, from a sponsorship standpoint? And I only say this because I think of the Watts League, and I think of Miles League, and I know brands don't heavily invest anymore. There's been a departure, but why do you think it's absent? And you and I've had this conversation briefly before, but I kind of want you to share with the public.
I think because in this area, and this extends to a lot of things, I don't know if the businesses always see the return of investment here that they may see in other places. So for example, if you look at like the Thru League and some leagues in down south, the support from the business community and from the fans, if you're a business, you gotta be there. Some of the other leagues up north, you don't really see businesses. And I'll say this because 10, 15 years ago, it wasn't like that. But recently, maybe it's like the engagement of Instagram. It's less cost effective. They may see it as to tie themselves directly to certain things. They might not see as, I'm going to get this return from from this, that, or the other. And, you know, basketball in this area, and it's kind of tricky because it's a very small area, right? So it's not a lot of people here, but the talent level per capita is the best in the country. So these companies are trying to figure out what
Memphis,
is
Tennessee, right?
hmm?
Second only to Memphis, Tennessee, right?
Something like that, or maybe somewhere. And you know, but it's tough for the businesses because them trying to weed through, you know, how do you differentiate between like the powerful brand of a team takeover or the powerful brand of the Goodman League? How do guys like maybe myself, even though I have a great product with the Legend Coalition, whatever you want to call it, you know, from what I'm told, how do companies see themselves as, okay, us associating with you creates a value proposition for our customer base or our market that we're not getting from just tying ourselves to where everybody else is tied to. So it's hard, you know, and again, for them, it's like how saturated is this market. So for example, with the DMV Live events, which are happening right now, there's two in this area, Lamatha and then one in Gonzaga, which was last weekend. You know, the NCAA may not necessarily award a third or fourth live period in this area. So they might not see the return on that or the point in that. Will it water down the other events, or what will it do for recruiting? Like those things is tricky when you're in a small area like this of 500,000 people, maybe a couple million when you include the suburbs of Maryland, Northern Virginia, as opposed to, you know, New York, they're talking about 8 million people, California, millions of people, where your chances of your business growing or you seeing a return is much you know, I guess they may figure much more bigger odds, if that makes sense. And then, you know, at home, we have sometimes a little crab in the barrel mentality where the people that have the opportunity to help people won't. They don't see the benefit in them doing that. Maybe they, you know, see it hurting their brand. You know, some of the selfishness we've seen. I mean, we're right next to the federal government, so it makes sense. But that's my thoughts on, you know, why you don't see that.
All right, we're gonna shift to some, you know, the state of the game right now, the state of business, particularly in college. But Don, I wanted to ask you, do you have any plans of playing in any local pro-ams in DC? And the reason why I asked this is because I think, kind of to Ricky's point, they're missing the level of talent that comes in that's in DC because a lot of our local stars, you know, the game has changed. You're doing your shit independently.
Right.
You might not, and outside might be a risk to you. I get that, but I just go back to, you know, the days in the '80s and then the '90s when you had the Herbo and it was something to the local cats shining on the local scene. So I just wanted to throw it out to you. Do you have any vision of playing in any of the local joints, or is it just too much of a risk? I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I'm putting you on the spot.
Yeah, you can't go ahead and say you don't mean to.
Right.
But it's the risk always there. Like even if you're working out in the gym, you know what I'm saying, you're going up to dunk, do windmill, like the risk are always there. That's how I feel as an athlete. But obviously you want to make the best decision for you. Like it don't make sense to just go to the park and be playing all day. But no, the answer to your question is, yeah, I would like to play in the Kenner League because they're gonna have it this year at Georgetown. So I'm trying to figure out, you know, how to maneuver that and who I'm gonna be with up there. But hopefully you'll see me up there.
Yeah, I'm not expecting you to play like every game, but this is one of those things you dip in, give them 80, and you leave.
Yeah, like you gotta do it like that one. Yeah.
Right. I just need you to remind them, yo. This remember you forgot about me, but let me remind you.
Yeah, for sure.
Well,
yeah, I'm trying to get in there though.
Playing, and this is kind of for both of you guys. I kind of want to get into the way the transfer portal and NIL has changed the game. Do you think that playing in something like the Kenner League potentially helps advance those kinds of opportunities with a good showing?
Are you asking from like an athlete perspective? So if I was in the portal and I played in the Kenner League, would that like help me out? Is that what you're asking?
Right. Would it does it help?
Yeah.
The options you have, number one. Also, number two, like local businesses or, you know, might see you as someone they want to attach themselves to, that kind of thing.
I feel like it's at your own risk. You know what I'm saying? It's just like pre-draft work. You know, you go to combines, you go hurt your draft stock, you could increase your draft stock. It's all about like how you perform, what you do, how you carry yourself as a person. You know what I'm saying? How people view you, everything, all different angles. But definitely like the type of person I am, I feel like it'll benefit me. Like I'm a player that's not backing down. Like I like that type of stuff, competing. But also the type of person I am, like if people see me, they know like, you know, my head is on my shoulders and things like that. So I feel like that type of opportunity would benefit me if I was in that situation. But every kid gotta look at it like, what is it gonna benefit for them? I feel like.
What do you think about that, Ricky?
I think to Donald's point, everything is has a pro and con when it comes to exposure. So like the Kennedy League actually, to me, because of how it's structured, the crowd is there, you do have an opportunity to definitely engage in some NIL, specifically if, you know, you're playing well. I remember when Rodney Pryor came that summer, he averaged like 35 points a game, and people were asking, who are you? You know, what's going on? That would have been the kind of thing that can happen. But, you know, to me, part of when you talk about like how you can really help yourself with NIL, it's what Donald said, is how you present yourself. Like I talk to young kids in high school all the time about, you know, being marketable. It's not just how popular you are, it's what you're presenting to the people that's following you. And because it's a lot of like, you know, one thing about the Kennedy League is a lot of the teams are still sponsored by businesses, and you don't see that a lot in a lot of these leagues. So it does give you that platform for them to even, you know, hey, if you play for, you know, the Tombs or Clydes, maybe they want to continue a relationship with you just from how, you know, you represent them in the Kennedy League. But it can go the other way. So it's just a matter of understanding your personal brand and what you're trying to accomplish in the NIL space.
And for me, again, when I chop it up with the young kids, student athletes, all exposure is not good exposure, obviously. Mm-hmm. And you know what your personality, who you are, and what your personality is. That's how you should kind of roll. That should be your flow from a social media standpoint, because organically people will relate to that. It's nothing worse than someone who got 12 followers and they're posting 15 times a day. Like that don't kind of add up. And there's no peanut butter approach. Everybody should be posting this, that, or the other. I think, you know, and it's an educational process. But when I think about Donald Carey, I think about someone whose journey helps you define who he is. So the more exposure as it relates to his journey, as he continues to go through his journey, it's almost like, dude, you could story tell on your journey. Like, and if this is off limits, please shut me down. But the fact that you boogied at Georgetown for 2 years and put in work, you know, Patrick's first captain. You know, to me, you should be branding the 4-point play. I ain't never seen nobody with the 4-point plays like you do, dog. That should be you should be brand. That should be on T-shirts for you. And the fact that you're going to which was once an arch rival, again, that's just, to me, that enhances your story. That enhances your journey. That doesn't, you know, we had some commentary back and forth online about, oh, so now you got him on and he's not at Georgetown. He always gonna be Hoya. You always gonna be Hoya family. You put in work there. Like you carry. You're a Big East champion. You carried the crown. So with that being said, how difficult, or was it not difficult for you to make that move to Maryland? Because I got to be honest with you. For me, I got zero issues with it because it's the state of the game.
Right.
But by the same token, you know, I'm old school. I'm like, I had to take a little pause, but it's business. It's not personal. So what was that process like for you?
I'm not gonna lie. So like, I'm an unselfish dude. I'm always worried about like, oh, like this is wild, like too much controversy. I'm not trying to get into that. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's just me. I'm always just trying to do what's best for everybody. Like let's just make the best shit for everybody. But with this one, I really just did it like you said, like based on business, what's gonna be the best opportunity for me. And I didn't really think nothing of it because, like you said, I put in work at Georgetown. Like I won a ring at Georgetown. You know what I mean? Like that's history. Nobody could take that away from me. And and I did it the right way. I don't think you know what I mean? I carried myself the right way while I was there. So I feel like if anything, like it shouldn't really be a problem, you know. And if it was, I wasn't really didn't listen to anybody on the outside. I had those thoughts in my mind, what I said before, but my close circle, my family, they just told me do what's best for me because I don't never really, you know, just do things selfishly. Like, let me do something for Don. Like, I try to just do what's best for the whole collective, like most of the time.
No doubt.
It's
Mark,
definitely.
I'm sure you want to jump in, Mark.
It's a different day, man. I'm the same way, no problems. And I would just like to publicly say, if the next Sherman Douglas, Derek Coleman, Billy Owens, Ronnie Cycli is at Syracuse and would like to come to Georgetown, we welcome you. We welcome you.
So that's another thing. I feel like the rivalry between Maryland and Georgetown is there because I understand. I know people who play in games, but it's not there right now.
It's not there right now.
Syracuse, I wouldn't even like think about Syracuse. Like, honestly.
Yeah.
Whoa, that's interesting. So when
Yeah,
you said when we played Syracuse, you were like, it's just another team.
No, I'm saying like I wouldn't think about going to Syracuse if I was transferred.
Oh, right. Okay.
No. It's definitely, I love all the, you know, the rivalry. I'm with all of that. So, and I know people who played there too. So, yeah.
So
can I say
go
one
ahead,
thing?
Ricky. I know you want to add.
You know, it's a, you know, historically I get it, but this is what I try to tell people when it comes to this thing, right? Because you know, people had the same commentary for me. In terms of Donald, you know, they know we've been close for a while, and you know, I've tried to give them the best advice I can. You know, I don't tell kids what to do. I just try to give advice. People forget this piece of transferring from Maryland to Georgetown. So when people really ask themselves, right, how does it happen? Well, why has it happened the last 2 years and never happened before? Because, and we've seen it the reverse way, right? Somebody went from Maryland to Georgetown because of the release process. So, you know, what really brought me into the transfer game, and I'll get to where I'm going, is that kids. So after I was helping kids get scholarships, I also had kids that was having a hard time leaving situations they didn't want to be in, right? So Marquise Reed, for example, Robert Morris gave him a hard time about a release. Andre Fox, Tubby Smith gave him a hard time about a release. So what I would do is go and say, wait a minute, why are you doing that to these kids? Why do you get to dictate when these kids leave and where they can go? This happened with Towson, with the kid I had. This happened with NJIT. So this is how I actually build relationships in the media, because I would leverage the media for this to bring light to these stories. Say, hey, why won't you let this kid go? Well, for years, the kid had no recourse, right? So I'll give you, you know, rest in peace, Charlie Moe, but it's not that he would have not transferred to Maryland when he left Georgetown. He couldn't. Coaches could go in your release and say, you cannot attend XYZ school on a transfer. And I had a kid, this is a true story, I won't put the coach out there. He blocked 40% of Division I's on this kid's release. It's called a conditional release. So George, it wasn't even that guys didn't want to go to Maryland or from Maryland to Georgetown. They couldn't. So when the transfer portal came around, it removes the coach's ability to restrict transfer. A couple of leagues like the Big South and the Southland have maintained where you can't transfer within the league, for example. But a coach would say to me, well, I don't want him to go to this school because I might play them the next 3 years. So what? So I think we have to look at it from a not just a standpoint of, guys, I want to do it because it's Maryland or Georgetown. Well, you could. So, you know, I want to put that out there, you know, just for conversation's sake and for historical precedence.
Yeah. But for me, it's purely selfish, Don. I wanted to see you stay in the area. I wanted to continue to see your journey, and I'd like for you to maximize staying in the area, right. Because again, you got two separate fan bases that you're able to tap into. So I'm looking at it from I think that takes cojones. I mean, you're thinking like you're not just. It's not just a move you're making for the sake of making the move. And I just know on GP it wasn't easy. So I applaud you on making that decision. And you know, we're gonna continue to follow you, and you know, hopefully the Terpins get a Terpins locker room and you can go on and chop it up. But you're always welcome back.
Hopefully they don't. I don't necessarily need to. We don't need to be encouraging competition.
This is my thing.
You know?
Well, what I want these youngins to understand is this should be a part of your process.
Oh no, absolutely. No, I'm just saying, like, we would like to have Maryland Terrapin, Don Carey on Hoya locker room as
Always welcome.
Terrapin locker room.
But my point is, and I'd love for Ricky to also add his comments, is not so much quantity. Like, you don't need to be every place. It's quality. It's quality. You have a certain amount of eyes on you. When you wear something, when you listen to something, tag the person that you're listening to. Tag whatever it is that you're wearing. Just change your way of thinking. And you stand in the DMV, again, I think that gives you endless opportunities to continue to tap in. And again, I'm not saying you got to be online and doing all this, but be strategic and make it cater to your personality.
No, this is just something I'm just curious about, just because a good friend of mine is Charles Smith, and you were number 13. Does that number have any significance to you, or are you just like, give me anything? Or?
Nah, so I actually committed so late. Remember, it was August when I committed to Georgetown. So they didn't have many numbers left. They had like 4 numbers. I was just told 13 was the best looking number out of all of them. Once I got 13, like, it's a little different. So I was like, dang, I rock with it. But you know what I mean? So I just went with that.
So can I get the story on how you two connected, and how you continue to have this relationship that you have?
You want to start when we go?
I'll start with you because Ricky get the mic. It's a wrap.
he might have a better, like.
But that's okay. We like your flow. You straight and to the point. You don't give a whole lot of extra. See, I got this dude here that I rock with on the Sundays. He give me all the extra. I like straight to the point. So don't you ain't got to say a whole lot. Just give me your take on the relationship and how it started and what it means to you.
Straight to it. No, so I think I was first introduced to Ricky like when I was in around 9th, 10th grade. My brother was going to his open gyms, and I was in there, trying to get on the court. But it's kind of muddied up because we done been in that gym so many times. We start seeing each other, and then boom, you feel like you know the person. Next thing you know what I mean? So that's kind of how it went. And like the relationship we got is really like a mentor like type of relationship. He kind of just helps me advise my decisions, just help me make informed decisions and be well aware of what's going on.
Ricky?
I mean, Don came to the gym when he was young with his brother, and I have a relationship with him and his dad, and he's just a really mature kid, and that's what stands out to me about him. Great player and leader, but like me and Don can have conversations I can't have with a lot of other kids, and that's a fact in terms of just like, business, on the court, and then I'm a clown all the time too. A lot of people think I'm like really serious. I really have a sense of humor. Me and Don joke all the time, but he listens and he listens to reason. He don't get caught up in a lot of nonsense, and that's how our relationship kind of formed. So, when he got the release, when he decided to enter the portal, I had a conversation with him about going back to school and playing, and he was receptive, and we just kind of keep building every day.
So from there, I guess we want to thank you both. We wind it down because when we get to an hour, we don't want to take up too much of your time on a Sunday. Mm-hmm. You talked about Donald being mature and being a leader, and that's one of the things I enjoyed most about watching you hoop. You almost had the throwback type game. And I was happy to see you explore and give them that medium range game this year. Because, again, you were a threat from that 3, but I think you improved on going to the basket. And a lot of it was just out of necessity because, it was a tough year. Mm-hmm. But I love the way you handled it. You handled it like a Hoya. And you handled it like a G. And, the maturity clearly showed. And I guess I wanted to ask you, what did it mean to you to be captain? And then if you can touch on winning the championship and then coming back and having the tumultuous year you had the year that you were named captain? If you can touch on those two things, it'd be cool today.
It's
You know,
funny.
I was riding with you. We ride to the end. We
For sure.
ride to the end, just so you know.
You might have to repeat one of the questions because I might forget. But
Okay, so
no. Later on, once I
okay.
once I get going. But it's funny because like when you're like in that captain leader role, like you don't expect to be like, oh no, like I'm the captain. You know what I'm saying? Like it's more so just do what you do, take care of your like make sure everybody good, everything that it comes with. You know what I'm saying? So that's always been my mantra. Like I don't really care about the title in any relationship. Like even if it's my girl, like you don't gotta call me a girl. Like we already dating before the title. You know what I mean? Like it's already in motion. So when Pat did that, I mean, I felt like I was already the captain, the leader. Even the previous year when we won it, like we had other guys, you know, guys who've been there longer, but I felt like I had the same role. It might not have shined as much on the court, but like practice off the court, like I'm the same person all the time. Like there's nothing changing, you know what I mean? So I felt like that was my role the year previously. So come last year, it's not a big change for me. Like, yeah, he named me captain, but I felt like he already named me the captain. You know what I'm saying? I'm just doing what I do every day. Ain't nothing changed. So it wasn't really a big jump for me, but definitely meant a lot just for him to actually do that. I didn't know he never named the captain before, but definitely meant a lot to me. Just that recognition because, you know, as a leader, you don't get credit. You know what I mean? You don't get credit for a lot of stuff you do. So just getting that recognition, it did feel good. But, you know, you still got to do what you do every day. Come bring it every day.
No doubt.
That's the tough part. The recognition is the easy part, but doing it every day consistently that's the hard part. You know, nobody really talk about that, how hard it is to be a leader, but everybody want that.
Did you ever run into a situation where the players felt that, you know, you were the coach's eyes and ears, or you know what I mean? Like, and I'm only going through, you know, my experience as captain, because unlike you, I didn't have the skill set you had. Right. So it's easier to respect a captain that can ball versus a captain that's a little just okay. Right. So you were nice enough with it that I think your game spoke for itself. So if someone challenges you, whether or not you're legit or not, that'd be kind of difficult to do. But did you ever run into any instances where guys thought you were the coach's pet?
Nah, before you answer that, I just want you to know, Gene was hyping himself up when he said somebody who can ball versus somebody who's a little okay. You're talking to a guy who hurt himself trying to make a layup.
First of all, I was downgrading myself. Ricky, what are you talking about, Ricky? I was downgrading myself.
Man,
no, that's an upgrade. A little okay is an upgrade.
Man, he was at the Olympic trials, man. I don't want to hear none of that.
I was there too. Hey, he's phenomenal on defense. There's no question about
it. See, Don, you see what I deal with? See what I deal with? He was a manager. I don't talk to him about Gatorade.
Hey, Don, it's only one person on this call with a national championship ring, man.
Who is that?
You can shut it down with that, and I give him that. But go ahead and answer, Don.
You said did my teammates feel like I was like a coach's pet? Nah, and I think one of the reasons why is because like me being like a player, like I've been in their positions before where I got somebody to look up to, and it's like I ain't really feel the connection with them sometimes because they didn't really, whatever it was, they didn't reach out to me. They wasn't close, no connection. So me as a leader, as one of those like persons of stature that other younger guys look up to, I always just try to tap in with them like on a personal level, because you know if you could tap in with them there, then you know what kind of motivates that player. And then once you figure out what motivates somebody, then it's easier to get them to do what you want them to do, or kind of bring them along or talk to them, relate to them, things in that nature. So each player on my team, I kind of had my own relationship with. It might not have been the tightest, the closest, but we had some type of relationship. And then another thing, like on the basketball side, they seen how I work. So like, you can't really say that, you know what I mean? They seen me every day. Like I'm in the gym. So it's hard to say your coach's pet when probably the hardest working person on the team, you know what I mean? So the only option you got to do is to come along or get left behind. So that's another thing. Like that's another thing I kind of stand on. I want them to see me all the time, like because when I preach go on them, hold them accountable, they understand where I'm coming from. You know what I'm saying? Oh, that respect is there, so it's gonna resonate with them. They're gonna respond to me. Versus if they never see me in the gym, I barely talk to them, just come to practice and try to hold them accountable. Like, what would you do? I know I'm not gonna listen to somebody. I'm just gonna say, okay, like, just going about my business. You know what I mean? Like, it's not gonna be there. Like, that connection not gonna be there.
And the level that you're operating on, you know what I mean? If you're doing work, that speaks for itself. You know what I mean? Actions speak louder than anything that's gonna come out your mouth anyway. Like if you're not doing work, then I'm kind of looking at you, like, yo, when I'm listening to you, you're not doing that kind of work. The second part of that question was Big East championship to last year. What was that like for you? How were you able to continue to produce, continue to show up? Because I watched every game. Like I watched as many games as I could. And I never felt like your record reflected the way you guys were playing.
Right.
And I'm not saying that just because this is a Hoya locker room show. I truly feel that. How difficult was it for you, and what was the messages in the locker room that kept you guys showing up?
Well, I gotta give credit to my dad, man, because he keep me grounded, give me patience, help me see things from like a bird eye's view. I always kind of been like a real poised and calm player, like on the court. Like it don't matter, a team could be pressing me, I turn it over. Like you won't see, my face probably won't change. My body language won't change. This is how I am. But like you said, to your point, this year, I mean, we took a lot of losses in conference, but I never really felt like we was out of it. Like I can honestly sit here and say, I never really felt like we were out of any game that we played. We have a couple blowouts, 2 or 3. It's going to happen like in the year in the conference, but never felt like we was out of it. And I think that's what kind of put me over the hump and helped me get through it. The guys in practice, like we were going hard, still competing like our asses off. It was crazy. Like you wouldn't even think we were on a 20-game losing streak. It's kind of wild to see. So I really think my teammates helped me get through it too, because if they was coming to practice, making it hard to practice every day, I think it would have been a lot harder. But we kind of just, came together and was like, we're right here. We just can never really figure it out, but practices were the same as if we was competing for a championship or the playoffs next week. Like we were locked in. So that made it a lot easier to kind of get through that. But I'm still surprised and proud of myself for how I held it together and like my composure for sure. Cause looking back, like everywhere I've been at, I never lost like probably more than 10 games in the season. You could go back and look and do the homework, but that's one of the things I kind of pride myself on is like making an impact and winning everywhere. I don't really care about stats and things like that. So it's actually funny because this is my worst year I had losing wise, but the best year I had like numbers wise, the most consistent I've ever been. So it's kind of like I'm kind of just level minded with it. Can't get high, can't get low on the losses. So I just take what it is and move on. Take what I learned, move on, and apply that to the next spot I'm at.
Ricky, let me ask you.
Mhm.
Curious, with you being involved with a lot of people in the DC area, a lot of kids, like which level do you get the most pleasure from interacting with kids in youth basketball, high school, college?
That's interesting. I've always worked typically with high school to college. I've never really worked with younger kids. It's just, I try to stay in my lane because a lot of working with younger kids is about development, skill development. That's not really me. I'm more business side, understanding recruiting, some of the stuff to go with that. So I've never really dealt with that, but it's kind of the same for me, man. Seeing any kid get the next opportunity, whether it's high school, college, or whether it's pro, whether it's, getting a job or whatever it is, man, I just enjoy seeing that. And it is because I know at the end of the day, what I tell them is whatever happened here, make sure you pay it forward to the next generation. So, that's the best part because I feel like we're building our community by doing that.
I'm curious. I met the Georgetown football coach a couple of months ago. I was on campus and just randomly bumped into him. Got to talking about a lot of things, and he said that when he's recruiting, he tries to sell the not a 4-year relationship, but a 40-year relationship. Do you, when you're looking to connect a kid with a particular program, do you look at how the relationships go after a kid has left the school, or is that not part of the process?
I mean, sometimes, right? So it depends on what the kid's goal is after they leave. So, you know, if you're looking to be a coach or manager or something like that, then you need to go with a coach to typically utilize their former players as managers and coaches. Some coaches use those spots strictly for recruiting purposes. But the main thing is, when it comes to that, is what type of person are you playing for, if that makes sense, right? So if you're playing for a guy that's just a good guy, then it's going to be a 40-year relationship regardless. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so
sure.
A good person is going to build a relationship no matter the dynamic, you know, whether you're a starter or whether you're the 13th man, if that's what's important to you. Now, if your goal is just to go pro, then maybe you're going to play for an asshole, but he knows how to get you to a maximum level of play. And it's weird, man, how the misperceptions, and I'll just give a quick example. Like, a lot of people think that, like, Frank Martin is this, like, terrible guy that just Frank Martin is one of the best people in college basketball as a person, right? Some of the stuff he's done for the kids that play for him, like, I can't even speak on, like, what he's done to save their lives and make them better people. But him as a basketball coach is a totally different dynamic. You know what I'm saying? So that's how I look at those things, man. Like, you know, for what's important to the kid.
I think that kind of consultation is invaluable. And again, that's one of the reasons why I wanted Ricky on. So again, continue good work, fam. Anything we can do on this end, we'd like to see you, you know, continue to be a Hoya, be part of the Hoya family. I know you're a businessman. I get it. But just as it relates to anything NIL related, my professional background is branding, marketing, sales. So anything, and same thing for you, Don. Anything I can do, and it don't have to be a long conversation. Like I said, I'm real quick and to the point. Don't hesitate to, you know, reach out, because again, I think, you know, to Ricky's earlier point, that crab in the barrel mentality don't really exist no more. Let's build off our resources. You know, I'm currently been trying to get New Balance to come through DC and pay some attention and show some love for the DC basketball history. Because if you think about New Balance and as it relates to DC, and Ricky know where I'm going with this, as it relates to DC has always shown New Balance love. And it hasn't necessarily been vice versa. One of the first New Balance basketball athletes or basketball endorsers was Adrian Dantley, who, by the way, Don, your game is a lot like. AD didn't have your range, but you don't have AD size. I mean, his width was crazy. But again, these are all, to me, situations where you can storytell and bring the whole DC storyline to life, which I think basketball country in the water did a really good job of. I think it was tough because it really wasn't about the hoop as much as more about the culture. So Ricky, you can tell I listened to your pod, I listened to your joint. So again, where I'm going with this, Don, is know that there are resources out there that you can tap into, fam. And again, yeah, it's about the bag, but it's more about that 40 years that Markham talked about. You can set yourself up for a situation where you may be endorsing somebody, and 5 years down the road, you could be working for them.
Right.
You know what I mean? You could establish that type of relationship. So yeah, I mean, I just think this is good in terms of continuing to build, continue to connect with each other. And man, Don, I can't thank you enough for stopping through, because I wasn't putting full court pressure on you.
Yeah.
I wasn't, but I was just, picking you up half court because I wanted you to come through and celebrate you, dog. Really wanted to celebrate you because we did a program. We had Chuma come through.
Right.
And we did a program where we had our, had end of the year awards. and you obviously was the you won the captain's award.
Oh yeah.
But it you know, again, you have a fan base. The team has a fan base, and we want to continue to support because we think that helps on the other end in terms of kids wanting to come to Georgetown.
Mm-hmm.
The more support they see for the program, the better.
Mm-hmm.
Mark, anything you want to jump in and add to that?
Just a big thank you to both Ricky and Don. We really appreciate it, and love to have you guys back on at some point if you'd like to come back on.
Definitely.
And I just want to, especially with the work that you do with you. We had Mike Riley on the show
That's my guy.
a couple of months ago. And when I was at Georgetown, when we would go to the games, we would always exchange quotes. And ever since then, I've been kind of closing the show with quotes.
Well, before you do your quote, because I love your quotes, Don, I want to give you a shout out for the social violence, the video you did with the students, as it relates to, and we ran that on the show.
Oh yeah, I know you talking
Student
about
project.
Premiered it in May. Yep.
Yeah.
And I wanted to give you a shout out on that, and if anything else you want to add to that, was that something that you know, again, that moved you, that motivated you? Is that because, again, I think it's important for the basketball program to be involved with what's going on campus.
Right.
So I just thought that was a real good look. How did that come about?
Oh, so one of my friends, she actually sings the national anthem at our games, and she's a photographer. She's taking a film class, so she hit me up and asked me that would I mind, and I said it was a no-brainer. I was like, yeah, let's do it. But I didn't know it was gonna turn out the way it did. Like, it was actually dope. Like, I watched it like 3 times, and it was tough. I wish I would have had more parts in it though. We filmed for like an hour 30, and I only had a 5-second clip. That's crazy.
It was powerful though. It was powerful.
That's the nature of that business.
That's crazy. Like, hour and a half of my night. Nah. But I wish I would have had a little bit more parts, but I definitely loved it. Like, I wish it was really just longer, period. Not even my part. It was only like, it was a short film, but
like 15 minutes, yeah.
12 minutes.
but I wish it was an hour. I thought it was gonna be like an hour at least, but it was pretty cool. I liked it. I think it was important too for people to like really understand like the roots of Georgetown, because some people from Maryland, even the DMV area, don't really understand the basketball aspect of it as well.
Cool. Yeah, I want to applaud you on that. I think it's important when you have a platform. I think it's important when you're a public figure, when you have that blue check behind your name. If there's something that moves you, share it. You know what I mean? If there's something that's natural to you, share it. So I thought that was cool that you stepped out with that. Good look. Markham?
Two quotes from 2 baseball guys. First one is from number 42, Jackie Robinson. A life isn't significant except for its impact on other lives. Jackie Robinson. And the other quote from the home run king, and it's not Barry Bonds, no matter what they say now. My motto was always to keep swinging. Whether I was in a slump or feeling badly or having trouble off the field, the only thing to do was keep swinging. Hank Aaron.
So for you,
Don, watch this, Mr. Carey.
Say that one more time.
My motto was always to keep swinging, whether I was in a slump or feeling badly or having trouble off the field. The only thing to do was keep swinging.
That first one's all you, Ricky. That second one,
that was Hank Aaron.
Hank Aaron. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I like that.
Again, we want to thank both of you gentlemen for your time. Hopefully you won't be strangers and you'll come back.
Definitely.
But it definitely means a lot, and we're gonna keep up with both of you. Again, it's real easy to stay connected. You know what I mean? It's just being intentional. So we definitely want to thank you guys, and Markham and I are going to wrap up with the new segment, but we appreciate you guys.
Thank
We
you.
really
Thanks
appreciate
for
it.
Appreciate
having
you,
me.
man.
Thank you. Love. So Markham, I want to introduce a new segment called Pro Hoyas, and this is one of those things where we've been talking to some of our fans that stay engaged, and hopefully this is something we can build on. And it's just celebrating, former Hoyas and what they're currently doing, or the body of work they're doing in terms of still playing. And this will be real brief. Hopefully, going forward, we'll have an actual segment. So the first thing I want to do is, it's been a Hoya birthday bonanza this week. We had Jesse Govan, happy birthday. We had Ronnie Highsmith, happy birthday. And then we had your guy that I'd love for you to speak on a little bit, Dikembe. It's his birthday as well.
So if you combo, I mean, all I have to say is, I mean, the guy has, I mean, great basketball player, but better off the court player, humanitarian, and it does me great joy to be able to wish my former roommate a happy 70th birthday. I mean,
how old did you say? 75?
70 years old, Dikembe Mutombo this week.
Yes, sir. And then on the other hand, just some Pro Hoyas I want to give a quick shout out to. Dewan Summers is playing in the Big Three. I want to give him a shout out. Omer and Otto, big shout out for Omer getting to the Eastern Conference Finals and Otto actually getting a ring. And then fellas that former players that I kind of followed a little bit because they throw things up on social media, but hopefully we can get a little bit better at promoting them. Jason Clark, Mikael Hopkins, and Chris Wright put in work, and just want to thank them for continuing to keep the Georgetown reputation strong and valid and out there. So yeah, again, that's going to be something we're going to try to improve on. Hopefully, Markham, we can edit this last part out and show it separately, so it kind of can be his own mouthpiece. But as always, Markham, I appreciate you, hosting, co-hosting. You really make this thing go. I was just thinking about, how long we've been doing this, and I can't thank you enough for being my partner in crime here.
Absolute pleasure.
Yeah. So we'll see you guys in a couple weeks. Happy 4th. We appreciate all those that are listening. It was a great show. Big thanks to Ricky Goins and Donald Carey Jr. For coming through. I thought it was awesome when he mentioned his dad as being kind of his guiding force through a tough season. Yeah, I thought that was dope. But again, thank you, Markham. Talk to you in a bit.
Thank you.